Good evening, everyone. I'll now call to order the meeting of the Lancaster City Council for September 26, 2023. A few reminders for everybody in the room here this evening. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed. This is a good time to silence your devices if you haven't done so already. Anyone wishing to make public comment during the designated periods, please do so with the microphone and begin with your name and block of residence for the meeting record. Each speaker will be giving up to 3 minutes per item. And now, for all who are willing and able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Harris, would you please call the roll of members?
Yes, Madam President. Mr. Ahmed.
Here.
Mr. Arroyo.
Here.
Mr. Cleese.
Here.
Ms. Gregg.
Here.
Ms. Diaz. Ms. Walsh.
Here.
And President Baker.
Here. Councilor Diaz is excused for this evening. Our next item is the approval of the minutes of the September 12th, 2023 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the minutes. Any council comments on the minutes? Hearing none. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Ahmed.
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Cleese.
Aye.
Ms. Gregg.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Baker.
Aye. The next item on our agenda is proclamations, honors, awards, and resolutions of recognition. Do we have any of those this evening, Mr. Harris?
We do not, Madam President.
Thank you. We'll then move into our first public comment period. That's reserved for residents who contacted the city clerk prior to this meeting to request the opportunity to address council. Again, the duration of those comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker, and speakers should begin with their name and block of residence. Mr. Harris, do we have public comment for this period this evening?
We do, Madam President. First is Gary Sensenich.
Mr. Sensenek, good evening. Oh, if you could just hit the little button on the microphone if the red light's not on.
It's red, okay.
You got it. Thank you.
Name is Gary Sensnick, live in Manheim Township, 1157 Oakmont Drive, but receive, as township residents, receive the city water, municipal water. And recently, as the city decided to do monthly billing of the water charges for all their customers, I came downtown wanted to pay my bill, water bill at the treasurer's office, and thought I could do like I have for 11 other accounts in my one checking account by automatic withdrawal, by pre-authorization to the city, giving them a voided check to use as a pre-authorization for payment each month of this bill. So when I found out that it was not possible, it seemed that they were saying that this process of connecting the city to the various customers' bank accounts for automatic withdrawal was in process, and that if I wanted to maybe help the situation out to have that happen more quickly, I'd come to a city council meeting. So that's why I'm here. I understand it's not an earth-shaking event, but I would like to be able to have my city water bill paid automatically each month, like I do 11 other things for other utilities here and there around. Just add that to the account. And I hope from my comment tonight, I don't know whether any other people have asked about this or not, but I can't think that I'm the only one that wants to pay a water bill or any other bill that owes to the city on a regular basis out of a checking account, that others might want to do the same thing. And that's my request tonight, to encourage this, or to start it if it's not started, or encourage it along to get established with banks that customers may give a check for authorization each month to pay the water bill or other bills. That's my presentation.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to report, I saw that your comment was coming in, and Chief of Staff, Tina Campbell, did let me know that we are in the process of switching payment services, and that part of the new services will include ACH, pre-authorized
Right,
withdrawals. I don't have a time frame for that, but we'll let you know, and everyone who wishes to have that as a convenience, that it is coming.
Okay, great.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Mr. Harris, do we have further public comment this evening?
We do. Next is David Costarella.
Mr. Costarello, good evening.
Thank you for the moment here. I think you're familiar with the outreach work I do. Hand up my people on the streets and hand up partners. There are things that I and every other outreach worker get to see, touch, and understand that unless you're actually working with the homeless population or know them for some reason, you have no way of understanding. Trying to manage something that you don't understand has led to the continuous failures and completely inhumane treatment that I've sadly witnessed over the years. Our outreach workers are underpaid, overworked, understaffed, and very frustrated and voiceless in the system that they work for. They complain to each other, they complain to me, but they risk losing their jobs or their fundings or their ability to help the folks that they are so dedicated to care for if they speak out here or anywhere else. Which leaves me standing by myself so often when I've tried to work with the county commissioners, the Homeless Coalition, and the city to no avail. Our outreach workers know how to make things better. I know how to make things better. Most of our homeless population knows how to make things better. But this system uses a sledgehammer where a helping hand, an ear, and a smile is the right tool. The waiting list for our new shelter, the waiting list on our existing shelter exceeds the new one's capacity. Tranq, or xylazine, is just starting to hit our streets right now. I've been trying to warn everybody for the last year it's coming, and when it hits the streets and takes over, we will have lost all control. Look up Kensington Square in Philadelphia. You'll have all the information, and it is so scary, and it is so real. I know the public spaces and parks are not the ideal places for managing our homeless, but I've been begging everyone for years, and you've supplied no other options. We've proven that this can be done and managed at Colton Park. We need you to
30
stand.
seconds.
It's 3 minutes.
30 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need you to back this and learn from it and expand on it instead of shutting it down. Please gather our outreach workers, past, present, and learn how to manage this in a productive way, in a human way. Our community and private sector will be happy to support these efforts when our county and city leaders get together with a plan and announce that our homeless population is our citizens and need our help. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Costarello. Mr. Harris, are there further public comments for this period?
There are, Madam President. Next is Irene Grievous.
Great. Good evening, Ms. Grievous.
Good evening. I am here today. I'm on the 13 South Mary Street and 901 Manor Street. There seems to be issue with the trash collection. Just, I guess I'm the only one. My trash has not been being picked up on a timely manner to the point where I have to call solid waste and recycling to get it picked up. When I complain after I call, then my trash cans get disposed of as well. This is a pattern. It's not just once in a while. This has been an ongoing issue for almost 2 years now. So I had asked the city, to avoid this ongoing issue, for me to get my own hauler to avoid these problems. On 2 different occasions, my trash cans have been replaced, And just a week ago, it has not, and I'm still waiting after almost a week. With that being said, as far as 227 West James Street, I had asked what why that this property has not been condemned in 5 years, despite the Historical Society being opposed to the demolition for neglect. At the last city council meeting, I brought this to city's attention, and I still have not received an answer. Is there an answer?
I do have, would you like me to give it at this time, or would you like to take the rest of your time?
No, you could give that to me now.
Sure. I did find out after the last meeting that the reason why there wasn't a condemnation on 227 West James was because it was not inhabited during that 5-year period, and there was no active rental.
So despite that, so an owner, just because it's there seems to be abuse of power. If you're wealthy, a millionaire, and can wine and dine with a mayor, that those same rules and procedures are not being applied. Whether a place is occupied or not, the city has a duty to treat everyone equally. This is supposed to be one united Lancaster, but there seems to be one divided Lancaster. Certain policies and procedures are for some, and for others are treated way different. Had I owned that property, that whether it was occupied or not, I'm sure I would have been treated much differently. And there just seems to be abuse of power, and public corruption and backdoor deals being made, despite the Historical Society rejecting the property being demolished for neglect.
Do you have anything further? You're at just about 3 minutes.
My concern is, why would the city, there's plenty of properties in the city, not only that one, but others that are not condemned. Yet, certain property owners are treated so differently than others. I mean, and I could provide a whole list of other properties in a similar situation to 227 West James Street.
Thank you, Ms. Grievous. You've
Thank
reached
you.
3 minutes. I appreciate it. Mr. Harris, are there any additional public comments for this period?
There are not, Madam President.
Thank you. We'll now move into reports requested by council. It doesn't appear that we have any this evening. Is that correct?
We do not.
Okay. Any interim reports of council this evening? Mr. Harris?
No, there are not.
Great. We'll then move into our legislative agenda this evening. We begin with item A, items for the Heritage Conservation District. Mr. Harris.
Consider the following applications and recommendations from the Historical Commission for improvements to properties in the Heritage Conservation District. First is the Catherine Hershey School for Early Learning, owner of 240 North Plum Street, proposes construction of 3 new structures and additions for a non-residential institutional redevelopment project. And second is Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology, owner of 750 East King Street, and they propose construction of a new 5-story building on the college campus. And both of those applications were recommended for approval by the Historical Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. I'll hear a motion on either or both of the items.
A motion to move both applications to the next regular meeting on the 10th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. These are coming through the Community Planning Committee. Councilor Craig, if you'd like to lead these items.
Well, I don't really have a whole lot to add other than what we have here. They're pretty cut and dried.
Mm-hmm.
Stevens Trade is looking to build on their campus.
Do we have any of the applicants here for the Catherine Hershey School? I believe we did.
Yes.
Okay.
Are there any questions from council?
I had a question, actually.
Oh.
To clarify that motion, that was to move it to the meeting on the 10th, so you would be tabling it tonight for action on the 10th?
Oh, no, you know what? Please forgive me.
Can Counselor Craig revise that motion?
Yeah,
She certainly can.
Okay.
yeah, I'm going to take that back and make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve both items this evening. Thank you for catching that, Mr. Harris.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Now, are there any questions from council?
Councilor Craig, if I may. We do have
The applicant
the
is here.
applicant. Sure.
Can you please come forward?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. My name is Senan Alexander. I'm the Executive Director of the Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Learning. It's good to see you all.
Wonderful. Just a couple questions. The construction of 3 new structures and additions for non-residential institutional redevelopment project. Can you give a little bit more detail as to what those structures are and what the redevelopment project is?
Sure. So I will just start with more in terms of just kind of the background, the history, who we are, and then we have our architect that's here. He can go into more of the actual structures and everything like that,
That would be great.
from there. Okay. So as I said, I'm Senan Alexander. I'm the Executive Director of the Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Learning. So we are actually a subsidiary of the Milton Hershey School. And so really after the Milton Hershey School, which is a residential school that is located in Hershey, Pennsylvania, that has a little bit over 2,000 children that are in their care. I'm actually a graduate of the school that's within there. And so really after years of really having a lot of really great outcomes for our children and our families, and also having really great outcomes, just of really utilizing kind of the trust that we received from Milton and Catherine Hershey, who are the founders, or the original founders of the Milton Hershey School. The school really wanted to go out and figure out how could we actually do more and help more children and families within there. And so after years of planning and kind of strategic planning of looking at what could we do to help more children and families, we came to basically figure that we were going to actually jump into early childhood education. And so basically what the Catherine Hershey Schools for Early Learning does is that basically we are creating 6 high-quality early childhood education centers across Pennsylvania that will be really everything from, when you think about one, they will be cost-free for families and children that qualify within there. So we will take children from birth to 5 years old. We will have 150 children that will be in each of our centers. And really there's 4 things that we're really trying to do with these centers. So number 1 is really how do we have a really good, robust core early learning program that helps children ready for kindergarten readiness. And so ensuring that is the first thing. Like, how do we make sure that they have everything from a cognitive development to health and wellness, to their social emotional learning and everything that's going to help them for kindergarten preparation and beyond. Secondly, we also will be doing a lot of family services. We know that in order to be able to really make sure that we have really good lasting impact, we also have to wrap around our families. And so unlike the Milton Hershey School, which is a residential school, we will be a non-residential school that will just be there once again. So our families will come to and from every single day within there. And so we will have in each of our center a family success center. And so in that family success center, basically we have 6 family success advocates, and their only goal is to help children and families to be able to break kind of the cycle of poverty. So helping them with healthcare referrals, helping them with if they're having food insecurity, financial literacy, partnering with some of the local nonprofit organizations that are already doing this work and being able to really kind of connect them. So almost having kind of a one-stop shop for them to really be able to really help them as they start to kind of break some of those generational poverty pieces there. And then the third thing then is really kind of the whole child support. So everything from early intervention services. We will also have a registered nurse that will be there on site. We'll have food, transportation that we'll also be doing for the children. So anybody that has a barrier for being able to get to the center, we do have vans that we go out to then pick up the children as well within there. And so really, once again, really what we see is that we really want to be able to come to really the kind of the Lancaster kind of county, Lancaster city community to really, once again, how do we help? We know that there's so much of need for early childhood education and really being able to help those children and families. And so that's exactly what we're trying to do. And so basically we're preserving really those 3 buildings that are there to basically use that for those services that'll happen there within there. And so everything from, the one building having to do with our classrooms, another building that's really going to be really dedicated to food service and those types of preparation and that stuff within there. And how do we really redevelop that whole area that's within there to really make sure that the children and families really have really a great kind of, environment within there. So that's kind of the 50,000, I guess, square foot kind of thing. And then I'll have Gary, if you want to add anything from an architectural standpoint.
I did bring a handout so I can give you a plan and render.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So in the handout I provided, obviously you have a rendering on the front
Thank you.
page of that, which really shows the current concept for the project from the corner of Walnut and Plum Street. So this would be directly across from Lancaster Brewing. You're coming into the city at that point. Obviously, this is a main entry sort of point to the city. The second sheet in your handout actually shows the site plan. And when you look at the site plan, at the top of the page is Walnut Street. On the right-hand side of the page is Plum Street. And so the gray, kind of medium gray colored buildings on that plan are the three existing buildings. The one building that's towards the bottom of the page, which we call Building Number 1, was largely renovated under a previous project. That building will really be the Family Success Center, and so that's really where the parents' facilities and learning center will be. The building on the corner, and the one that shows up in the rendering, is really going to be the main public entrance to sort of a reception hall, and then some kitchen, commercial kitchen space on the first floor where they're making meals for not only this facility, but also for the new Danville facility that is also being done in Lancaster County. And on the second floor of that, we have gross motor skill areas and an innovation lab. The building next to that is actually the new construction, and that's essentially a covered parking area, where on the second floor we have an elevated play deck. And so when you look at the rendering on the front page, you can see that second level. We have an area on the second floor where we have an outdoor playground, a trellis space up there, and so forth. And then there's a connector from that building that goes over to what we call Building Number 4, which is the four-story that's tucked in the back portion of the site and really off of what's called Tobacco Ave. That's actually where the classroom space will be. And so on the lowest level, the first floor level, on the second floor level, we have all the classroom spaces for the kids. And then on the fourth floor of that building, we have administrative offices and staff resource center, training center, that sort of thing. And then on the fifth floor, we have the administrative offices. So it's a quick high-level review of what's happening on the site.
Yeah, thank you both. That was incredibly helpful in adding some perspective as to what this project is. And it's really exciting, and it's also really beautiful. Thank you.
It really is.
For the presentation.
It really is. Are there
And
further questions from council?
Councilor Craig, I would just add that we have on the notes that this project was unanimously approved by the Historical Commission last week.
Questions or comments from the public?
Councilor
Wanna go?
Craig, I just had one question. What were the income eligibility requirements for families who wanted to join the center?
Sure. So it goes based on the size of the family that's within there. And so depending on how large the family is, and then it looks at basically the federal poverty line. And so we can go a little bit above the federal poverty line, but it's pretty much close to kind of the pre-K counts kind of time frame, which is about 300% above the federal poverty line is the upper limit that we could go. So.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments from council? Questions or comments from the public? Okay, thank you. That was very exciting. I'm excited to see this.
Thank you, Councilor Craig. Since this motion also includes item B, which was also unanimously approved by the Historical Commission, are the applicants for Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology with us this evening? I would like to afford you the same opportunity to talk a little bit about your plans, if you would I am a little familiar for anyone who is not with the project.
Hello, my name is Chris Metzler. I'm the Vice President of Student Services at Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology. And what we are doing is building a 5-story kitchen on the basement, dining area on the main floor, and then dormitory on the 3 higher floors. This will provide us an opportunity to bring all of our students to the campus. Currently, we lease a building over at Millersville University because of expansion and lack of beds. Also, the dining hall that we currently use was made for about 115 students on the campus, and right now we have 1,451 students. So we're in need of additional dining space, kitchen space, and dormitories.
Thank you. And what a good problem to have for Thaddeus Stevens. And just to be clear for all members of council and the public, this project fully is inside of the land that's already part of the Thaddeus Stevens
Correct.
College campus.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other council comments or questions on that one?
If I may, Council President.
Councilor.
How many new dormitory units are expected with this project?
We're looking at about 260 additional beds.
Okay. So will there still be a need for additional off-site housing even with this project?
The demand is great, so I'll tell you that probably in the near future, we're going to look for additional need, but right now, not with our current structure.
Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, you answered my question, so no, I don't have anything.
Okay. From the public on this particular item? All right, hearing none, we've covered both. Mr. Harris?
Mr. Med,
Aye.
Mr. Arroyo,
Aye.
Mr. Cleese,
Aye.
Ms. Gregg,
Aye.
Ms. Walsh,
Aye.
and President Bake.
Aye. Thank you. And that actually concludes our legislative agenda this evening. We now move into our second public comment period. That's open for comments on any issues that weren't covered previously on the agenda this evening. Again, the duration of those comments is limited to no longer than 3 minutes per speaker. Please begin with your name and block of residence for the meeting record. If we have any public comment, please come on up to the microphone. Good evening.
Good evening. My name's Jonathan Brown. I live at 209 North Lime Street. And so I realize that Mayor Sirachi is not able to be with us this evening, so I don't know if council will be able to answer my question or if there may be any other city officials in the audience. But I didn't realize this until we started moving to the monthly billing for water, sewer, and storm. I have a single family home and I'm the only person who lives there, so I don't use a lot of water. Under the quarterly billing, there would be months or quarters where I would get billed for 3, and then other quarters where I would bill for 2. I realized only after we got our first monthly bill that I was curious as to whether something less than 1 is possible. If not, if I'm now going to definitely always have, like, if 1 is the minimum in a monthly bill, I'm realizing that I'm going to be paying more than what I paid in the past. And I was wondering if, in the way the billing structure is set up, if it's still exact to that meter reading, and thus over a 3-month period where in the past I could only use 2, I might end up with a month that's 0. If that's making sense. And I'm thinking it's not possible, and so I'm concerned that the way this will play out is that I'll end up paying more under the monthly plan.
So I'll venture a response, although I'm not sure if I'm fully following. But with the monthly billing, meters provide an accurate read of every single month, whereas in the past that wasn't always the case.
Okay.
And so there will always be some usage, and you will always be billed for whatever that usage is per month.
And that makes sense theoretically.
Right.
I guess what I'm saying is I look at the bill that the city puts out, and it's the same as the old bill, right? It's the same bill. It appears that the way we're charged is by the meter reading, which is like, for again, small place, 1, 2, 3, right? And so I'm thinking that if you use less than one, that they round up to one, and that's my concern, which they didn't do
That I'm
when it
not
was
sure of.
quarterly.
I see
Do you see
Director
what I'm
Campbell
saying
here,
now? You
and
understand
he
what I'm
has
saying?
his hand in the air.
Yeah.
So he may be able to address your question more
Great.
directly.
Thank you.
Mr. Campbell, if you'd like. Thank you, Director
Yes,
Campbell.
thank you very, very much. The key advantage of being able to do it as, with the electronic meters that we spent several years trying to do the upgrade for, is that it's accurate metering. Now, the modules that we use are still relatively small, but you'll only be billed for the amount of water you actually use. And that's a key advantage. In the past, we did do rounding, and often that not only created some bizarre situations, but by doing it every 3 months, if there was actually a leak, you wouldn't detect the leak until after 3 months of the leak, as much as 3 months of the leak going on. But the intention of the electronic metering is so that there's accurate metered water readings for every customer across the board.
Thank you.
Hopefully
No matter
that
the
answers-
increment of usage.
No matter what increment, that is
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any additional public comments this evening? Ms. Gravis?
Yes, I'm having an issue a few weeks back. My neighbor trying to make it difficult on me with the help from the city, obviously, taking pavers from my yard. I called the police came out, they took a report, however, they're not willing to, they told the neighbor that they had, a week to return them. And a few more weeks went by, I called again, and I'm just being ignored. So it just seems like no matter what happens to me, I have no recourse. Anybody can take anything from my property. My trash is not being picked up. So I just feel like I'm being targeted left and right with no resource or without assistance from the police or the city or from anybody. So is this how it's going to be? Anybody could do anything and take anything from my property, and I'm just supposed to just sit back and allow these things to happen? It's, the officer was Officer Chubb. I left a number of messages. He was going to follow up, but as I expected, how many months later, and I'm still being ignored, as I expect.
Ms. Gravis, what was the date that this occurred?
It was around July.
Okay.
Yeah, it was shortly after I had my tenants evicted. My former tenants, because of the eviction with the city's strict policies, so I'm not a public nuisance, or my tenants are not a public nuisance. I went through the steps of going through the eviction, and as retaliation, my tenants vandalized my property. I couldn't do anything. And on top of it, I'm having my neighbors, while I'm in the middle of cleaning up and trying to repair my property, take things from my property, and there's nothing I could do. Here I am, I have to just keep buying material only to just have my neighbors do whatever they please with the city's blessings.
I will follow up with Officer Chubb for you and find out what I can. I don't know anything else about this incident, but I can do that for you, and we do have your email address.
Okay.
Would that be okay if I send?
That would be great. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome. Are there any additional public comments this evening? Hearing none, public comment period is closed. The next item is the report of the mayor this evening. Mayor Sarachi couldn't be here this evening, but she did let me know that she didn't have any report to give. The next item is the report of President of Council. I will just make mention that this Saturday is the city's Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. It's going to be held Saturday, September 30th from 1 to 5 p.m. at Binns Park and Ewell Plaza. There'll be live music, food trucks, and vendors, so please come out. It's always a great time, and hopefully the rain holds off, fingers crossed, since it's rained for a week, it feels like. That concludes my report this evening. The next item is council comments. Are there any council comments this evening?
Council President, if I may.
Councilor Walsh.
Two comments or requests, one being if we had an update or a timeline for the development agreement for 227 James Street. And if we do, when can we see it?
Councilor Walsh, unfortunately, I don't have an update. I did reach out to the counsel of the applicant, I believe last week. I will try again tomorrow, and I will check in. I think that we have the parameters of the agreement already outlined, but I've asked that Mr. Davis provide us a first draft of the developer's agreement. So I will request again, and I will get back to you.
Great, thank you.
Sure thing.
And I believe my next comment request is for you as well. If we have an update for the Prince Street shelter, I mean, given the commentary that we've heard, we know that shelters are in high demand, and just wondering what the timeline is for bringing that online.
Yeah, we've actually been working on a daily basis with staff both at the County Housing and Redevelopment Authority and the Office of the Homelessness Coalition. We're actually working on two major elements that are connected to the agreement between the authority and the City of Lancaster. The first component is for the emergency low barrier shelter. That's to ensure that we have 80 beds, a total of 80 beds this winter. That includes an addition of 40 more beds. There is a proposed location for those additional 40 beds, and we've been working through all of the approval aspects of that. My understanding is there will be a zoning relief application coming before the zoning hearing board on October 23rd related to that low barrier shelter. That's the first piece. The second piece is related to the South Prince Hub, which the design actually has been evolving in a number of very positive and exciting ways, I think, over the past month or two. That particular center, we can provide a fuller report on this when we're prepared, but just to touch on this briefly, the proposal right now is for family shelter units on the first floor of the South Prince Hub, what's referred to as crisis housing. The back of the first floor is intended for support services and staff that would be providing those support services. And there's also a second floor proposed for permanent supportive housing apartments. I think it's a really terrific design. We're not quite to the 100% mark with the design, but the zoning relief for that property is also intended to come before zoning hearing board on October 23rd. That's all tentative. Please take that with a grain of salt, but we've been working on that daily.
Great, thank you, I appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you both very much. Any other council comments this evening? All right, hearing none and having reached the end of our agenda, I'll hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.